Once again, session of Hoodies the podcast. Test 1, 2. This is Hoodies. Let's do it, man. Live from the Skill Suite. Yo, coming at you, man. Yeah. Are we back? 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 Word. Yo, I'm the guard Rashidi. I want to thank you for pulling up to another dope episode of Hoodies the podcast. Yeah. Word. Good to be back, man. Good to be back. I'm kind of digging this every other week thing. I'm digging it. I'm feeling it. Listen, man. Let's get it popping. Let's get it cracking. This weather's been beautiful, right? Beautiful. Whew. I'm ready for the spring. Time has gone up an hour. It's sprung forward. Man. Spring is almost here. I'm telling you, I'm ready for spring. And just when we could get comfortable and think that warm weather's here and here to stay, I think in a couple of days it's going back in the 50s. I think it's going to be a few days in the 40s with some lows around the 20s, somewhere around there. Well, I'll tell you, women. I'm talking about Virginia, that is. Goodness gracious. But anyway, hey, it is what it is, man. Gotta take the good with the bad. Gotta take the crookeds with the straights. You know what I mean? Other than that, I hope everybody been good. Real quick, before I end the intro, I just wanted to say what's up before I got into what I wanted to talk about. Yeah, here's someone I want to make mention of. A life, right? Oliver Power Grant. He's the visionary and entrepreneur and co-founder of legendary Wu-Tang Clan. A driving force behind one of hip-hop's most influential movements. Power helped build the global legacy rooted in independence, ownership, and culture. His belief in creative control and community empowerment helped shape not only the group, but a dynasty that changed music forever. His impact will live on through the culture. He helped elevate and the countless lives he inspired. You know what I'm saying? I send my condolences out to his family, his friends, and all his supporters. Rest in power to Power. I think Power may also be responsible. You know, each member went out and got their own record deal. Don't quote me on that. I think he may have been instrumental in helping that to pop off. You know what I'm saying? He also had a small role in Belly as well. You know what I mean? If you remember that scene. So yeah, man. Rest in peace to Power. May he rest well. Again, condolences to his people and all that good stuff, man. So I'm not gonna keep you too long. Want to get this cracking. They say I should make the intro as short as possible, and then get to the meat of this thing. So I'm gonna do that. All right. Happy to be back. Welcome back to another episode. Actually, this is episode 10. 10. And I'll dig deep into the 10 at the end. So let's go ahead and do this, man. Happy to be back. Hope everybody's well. Let's go ahead and do this. All right? All right. All right, check it, man. So this whole season, if you really look back into it, it's really been, I guess you can say, about discipline. You know, bad man don't lose them cool. Discipline, keep you cool. Chop wood, carry water. You know, is to put in the work. Again, about discipline, stick-ativity, consistency, shit like that. Dirty Mackin'. Hold on. What's all the titles of this season, man? I can't even think of them offhand. But the Halo Effect, of course, that was last episode. You know what I mean? What good is a jewel that ain't still precious? How you do one thing is how you do everything. A man's man. So we've actually covered a lot of stuff, but mainly about discipline. You know, and Some of it's been understood, some of it's not been understood. And for whatever reasons, the people who watch my content, which ain't a lot, but you know what I mean? I'm still good money. But those who do, who don't, most who don't even hit the like button or comment, but tell me things in person. For whatever reasons, that's what people prefer to do. So it is what it is. I'll take it any way I can get it. So, you know what I mean? People don't necessarily understand where I'm coming from. A lot of times, they don't get it. So then I started thinking to myself, I started thinking to myself that there's a strange truth about life. A strange truth. And that strange truth is when everybody understands you, you might not be saying anything all that deep. You heard me right. You know what I'm saying? In other words, I'm saying if nobody misunderstands you, then you probably ain't all that deep. You understand? Because listen, being deep or getting deep, or should I say depth? Hard for me to pronounce that word. Depth creates interpretation, right? People interpret things, and that's been the big thing. I had a hard time explaining that. That's been the biggest thing. People interpreting what I said their own way or whatever. This person felt that way. This one thinking, hey, so you saying whoop-de-whoop? You know what I mean? Because like I said, depth, it creates interpretation. Interpretation creates disagreement. And then disagreement often turns into misunderstanding. And so from that strange truth, I think I've come to realize that maybe being misunderstood isn't the problem. Maybe that's just simply the price of depth. Right? So today I want to talk about why people who think the deepest often are misunderstood the most. I'm not saying I'm the deepest, but I think I go there. I have folk who tell me, hey, I'm not sure where that was going, or I want to tap into that. And other folk, you know what I'm saying, who are often misunderstood. Let's get into that. So the thing about, right? The thing about surface, folk who rather stay surface. I mean, it's simple. The surface is easy. You know what I mean? The surface is easy. Everybody agrees with easy. Everybody agrees with the surface. If someone's talking some surface level type conversations, some surface level type things, 9 times out of 10, most people will agree with them. Like surface level stuff like work hard, be nice, follow your dreams. Follow your dreams. You know what I'm saying? Nobody misunderstands surface level thinking. You know what I mean? But then when you get deep, when you put some depth on it, see, depth, again, it complicates things. You know what I'm saying? When ideas go deeper, right? They start to challenge people's assumptions. It starts to reveal contradictions. You know what I'm saying? And that makes people uncomfortable. That's kind of what it is. Makes people uncomfortable. That's where the misunderstanding begins. That's where it starts. Right? Because it forces people to think. Let's keep it funky. Not everybody want to think. Everybody wants shit laid out quite flat. I get it. That's why most people misunderstand depth. Right? Because check it. It gets even a little deeper than that even. Check me. It gets deeper than that. See, people hear you, and everybody's deep in their own right. Somebody might look at me and be like, that shit ain't deep. I could look at somebody and be like, man, really? Everybody's got their own deep. Everybody's got their own woke. Everybody's got their own quirks and qualms, and everybody's got their own everything. You know what I'm saying? So, with that, people, see, they tend to like only hear you through their experiences. You know, two people could hear the same thing but interpret it different. Those are some of the risks, you know, not the risks, but those are some of the things you deal with when you are someone who has depth, right? For example, I just said something about discipline, right? Also said something about watch pot, don't boil. The discipline is in being patient in that saying, right? Bad man, don't lose them cool. You know what I'm saying? Chop wood, carry water. All discipline, right? But see, we get it. At least I think most of us get it. But then you got some people, when they hear something about discipline, see, while you hear discipline, they hear judgment. Get what I'm saying? You know, if you talk about self-improvement, they hear criticism. You know what I'm saying? Harsh criticism, maybe. You know, we've talked about weight and diet. Some people hear criticism. When you talking about loving you, folk can't necessarily absorb that. And I suppose you would have to have it for yourself in order to understand someone else having it for themselves. You understand? And when you show a lot of self-love and you know, when you show enthusiasm about self-improvement, that triggers people who aren't into self-improvement. I think I made my point there. And which is why a lot of people hear criticism, because you're doing probably what they should be doing. You know? So what am I saying? I'm saying people don't hear what you say. People hear it through who they are. Make sense? Yeah. How can I put it? Complex ideas get simplified in people's minds. You know, if that makes any sense, right? Deep thoughts, you know, are layered. There's layers to it. But most people want simple conclusions. They want to reduce what you've said to something easier. And I'm trying my best to explain this as best I can. Like, okay, for example, right? If I say something which I find to be simple, right? If I say relationships require accountability on both sides. Simple. Right? Simple, right? Relationships require accountability on both sides. As simple as that sounds, right? Somebody hears you're blaming people or something to that effect. You blaming people. Like some people would just take your depth and flatten it. So it ain't layered no more. It's flatten it to make it simple and easier. I've also noticed that depth, it makes people defensive. Y'all ever notice that? Makes people defensive. Deep conversations, they expose, maybe that's why. Deep conversations expose uncomfortable truths. You know what I mean? About ego, habits, responsibility, and character. Character. Deep conversations, they expose that. You know what I mean? So, you know, some folk, instead of wrestling with the idea, like trying to decipher the idea, some people would rather attack the messenger. You know what I mean? Instead of wrestling the idea, they want to wrestle the messenger. You know what I mean? And look, I even think some they use misunderstanding. You know what I mean? They use it as a defense mechanism. You know what I mean? I guess I guess that would be people. Some people are determined to misunderstand you for whatever reasons. Like I said, maybe a defense mechanism. All throughout history. Want to get a little deeper than that? Hold on. It's getting late. But yeah, man. All throughout history, philosophers, artists, reformers, activists, innovators. You know what I'm saying? Take for example, since we're talking history, the late brother minister Malcolm X, or El Hajj Malik El Shabazz. That was the name he was going by at the time of his passing. People just still refer to him as Malcolm X because that was the most, unless if you didn't know, you didn't know. And if you know, you know. But anyway, so think of how layered Brother Malcolm was. Think about how layered he was. Right? But yet, I mean, what are the layers? If you know, you know, but even his plight to becoming, the shining knight that we all came to know, we're talking drug user, pimp, he was a thief, all kinds of shit, and then became something greater. Malcolm was a layered brother, but what's he mostly known for? By any means necessary. Am I right or wrong? Let's take the late brother Minister Martin, right? Layered brother, layered. A lot of folk, don't necessarily know that he had to be talked into the whole nonviolent thing. It's not what he was about, at least not in the beginning. Brother Martin had guns, believe it or not. He tried to apply for a carry concealed permit. He got denied. He had to be talked into that. Brother Martin was layered, right? But what's he been flattened to? What's he been reduced to? I have a dream. That's all people really, really talk. He's the guy who had a dream. He wanted justice for everybody, Jews and Gentiles. Free at last. Y'all know it. He's been reduced to that. And since we talking history, how about Nietzsche? Nietzsche, he challenged societal norms in his time. He challenged, Christianity or, Christian morality or the herd morality. He believed that it was a person's values and his character and his creativity, that pushed people through life, not necessarily God or Jesus. And if you was to read into him a little bit, you'd say that, okay, this is I believe he was German. He was layered, but he was dumbed down. If you was to talk to people about him today, he's dumbed down to being somebody who was like a radical critic of, Christianity or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So, free thinkers, like I said, philosophers, artists, reformers, activists, speakers, innovators, all of them, were dumbed down. At least not by everybody, right? Their ideas, they sounded strange before people was ready for them. I suppose death, it often arrives, I guess, ahead of its audience. But listen, and if you're not careful, there's a danger, fam, in trying to be understood by everyone. There's a danger in that. See, if you try to, which is, I've been guilty of that. I know a lot of people been trying to, and then that's not necessarily wrong to do all the time, right? Because, well, when I make reels from, from these episodes, when I make reels, I kind of make those simpler to kind of grab the viewer in to go, to come and watch the full episode. So sometimes it's necessary. Brother Malcolm once said, make it plain. He was probably told that by his teacher, the messenger, Elijah Muhammad, to make it plain and don't get all deep on the people. You want to make it palatable for everybody. But there's a danger there, right? Because when you're trying to, when you're trying to be understood by everybody, you can fuck around and dilute yourself, right? You'll start, sanding down your ideas so nobody gets uncomfortable. You become safe and shit. And when you do that, I'm of the belief that you start to trade, your truth for approval. Excuse me. Right? And I'm also of the belief that approval is cheap. Excuse me. Approval is cheap. Because look at what you got to do to get it. You got to dumb your truth down to damn near nothing in order to get it. So, like I said, sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes you got to make it plain. So, all right. So it's safe to say that, okay, there should be some sort of balance, right? It should be a balance because it's got to be a balance because I know I'm rambling, right? But you got me. I'm in it. I'm in my bag. It's got to be balanced because being misunderstood. Now, be clear. Being misunderstood don't necessarily mean that you deep. Not necessarily. Sometimes it just means that you're shitty at explaining something. You did a shitty job at explaining something. You explained something poorly. Make sense? So the real challenge is speak clearly, think deeply, and then, once you speak clearly, after that, only thing you can do is just, get comfortable with the fact that not everybody is going to feel you. Not everybody will understand. And they don't have to. It's your life. It's your POV. Right? They don't understand. That's on them. You probably don't understand how they could be so surface level. Think about it. Just take a quick think about it. Let's look at water. You got shallow water, then deep water. Shallow water, you can see right through it. You can see rocks down there. You can see sand. Maybe some fish who swim in the shallows. Smaller fish who swim in the shallows. But then deep water, it's not as clear. In fact, it's not clear at all. You know what I'm saying? Because it's deeper. You can't see or understand what's down there because you can't see it. And since people can't see what's down there, they start to make assumptions of what's down there. Listen, man, depth has a cost. Sometimes that cost is loneliness. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes the cost is criticism. You're gonna get a lot of that. You're gonna get a lot of that. When people can't understand where you're coming from, sometimes they'll assume that you don't know what you're talking about. Because they don't understand it. And listen, the depth is just simply the cost of being misunderstood. You know what I'm saying? And I am of the belief that the alternative is worse. You understand? The alternative is living on the surface. And the only thing I like on the surface, or even midway, is fish. That's it. You know what I'm saying? I can't live on the surface. I can't live in a world where, everybody just nods their head. because everything's just so simple and easy to understand. You know? So if you ever said something, if you're a deep individual, if you've ever said something, you know, let's say you said something thoughtful and people still got it twisted. Don't panic. That's part of it. Just pause. That's part of it. You know? Because just remember, pause and just think in that moment that when you go deep, you shouldn't expect everybody to be able to breathe down there. That's where you live. You know, in the deep waters. That probably wasn't good because you can't breathe in deep water or in water at all. But y'all get the point. Listen, have you ever explained something and then watch the whole conversation go left? You know what I'm saying? Like you started with like a real thoughtful point, something balanced, something fair, right? And then before you know it, somebody's responding to something you never even said. You know what I'm saying? For example, I remember having a conversation not too long ago, in fact. For the most part, it was about accountability in relationships. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, it's what it was. Accountability in relationships. And my point was real simple. It was simple. Both people play a role in what happens in a relationship. That was the point. There was no blame. There was no pointing the fingers. Just responsibility on both sides. Right? But somehow the conversation turned into, so what you said people deserve what they get? And of course I'm sitting there or standing there and thinking, wait a minute, the fuck? That's not even what I said. I just said both people are responsible. Both people play a role in what happens. And once again, that's when it hit me. That's when it smacked the shit out of me, in fact. That people don't just, like I said earlier, people don't just hear your words. They hear you through, people don't just hear your words. They hear your words through their experiences. Yes. They don't hear your words, they hear your words through their experiences. You know? Like I oftentimes say sons need their fathers. Right? True, right? Now I don't really say it like that no more. Now I just say kids need their fathers. But y'all get what I'm saying? Sons need their fathers. And that oftentimes gets met, not by everybody, but oftentimes that gets met with pushback. And it just is what it is. When you have layers, people sometimes grab the layer that best fits their feelings. And so now I just kind of say, you know what? Kids need their fathers. Because which is still true. You know what I mean? You ever say something in a room and suddenly it gets quiet? Just take a moment and think about that. Go ahead and think about that real quick. You thinking about it? Like a time when you brought up an idea, you know, just an idea, something that challenges something that people believe. Kind of like Nietzsche. Just challenge something that people believe. Not disrespectful, nothing crazy, just something that makes people think. Right? And then suddenly the room changes. If you know, you know. The room changes. People get uncomfortable. People want to change the subject. And Nietzsche was on to something, because religion, touchy piece. Politics, touchy piece. Your ideology may rub people the wrong way. You'll see the room get uncomfortable. Some people want to change the subject, like I said. Some people pretend they didn't hear you. And that's a moment right there. That's where depth lives. You know what I'm saying? Shallow conversations keep everybody comfortable. You know what I mean? It's got its place. But definitely there has to be some balance. Just to, you know, that's just what it is. Deep conversations make people look in the mirror. Depth, it just isn't always rewarded with understanding. You know, it's rewarded with silence. You know, criticism, confusion. You know, but said it once and I say it again. And they aren't necessarily my words. It's a quote. You know? That if nobody misunderstands you, you might not be saying nothing deep enough that challenges the room. If nobody misunderstands you, you're probably not that deep. All right, man. So check it. I did enough yapping, man. So check it, man. This is, like I said, episode 10. This is actually season finale. You know? So check it, man. Listen, I want to thank everybody who watched this season. I changed things up just a little bit. Certain things stayed the same. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate the viewership, mostly on the shorts. I appreciate the viewership on the episodes as well. This has been real. And so I don't care, you know, what number of followers I got. There will be a second season. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So season finale. I want to end it the right way. You know how I do this. Before I get out of here, I want to give a salute to everybody who's got a born day today. You know what I'm saying? New life, more life. You know, listen, man. New life, more life. Dead ass. You know, you're the only one with this fingerprint. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole lot of fabricated crap out here, but you're here, which means you matter. Live it up, man. Your born day, that's real right there. You know what I'm saying? Also want to give a salute also to anybody who might be going through a thing. It's a lot going on out here. There's missile strikes and all kinds of stuff. Oil prices going up. Folks got loved ones being sent overseas. You know, loved ones who are journalists who are already overseas. These are some, although it's nothing new, you know, I ain't no spring chicken. I've been around a while, and every so often, this is just what happens. However, and not only those things, there are people who's dealing with internal battles, you know, within themselves, within their homes, with loved ones, the whole nine. And yet, they show up every day. They're still showing up. And not only showing up, but they're showing up for others. And it's showing up for themselves, at least on the outside. They're going through a lot of things, but they're keeping it together. Again, I salute you. Dead ass. You know? Listen, and I said something last episode in reference to the Epstein files, and I talked about how I didn't care about it, whatever. hold another black person accountable when they come around talking about these Epstein files. I'm about sick of hearing this. And as a barber in this very chair, I got Caucasian clients, Asian clients, Latino clients, or Hispanic, whichever one is appropriate, black clients of the diaspora. And I gotta admit, the ones who talk about, let's see the files. Man, listen, from what I understand, the files are out. At least some portion of the Epstein files are out. I don't give a fuck about no Epstein files, man. Dead ass. Okay, so now that they out, is that pushing us forward in any way? You worried about what they doing, all up in their business, worried about what they doing. What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing to push us forward? We're gonna need some mentorship. We're gonna need to snatch up some kids. Of course, not literally snatch them up, but let's get some. I don't care if it's just two young men. I don't care if all you know how to do is play pool. Take them to a pool hall and show them something. Hey, listen, just like chess is teaching strategy and this, that, and the third, pool, without you even knowing it, teaches geometry. Geometry. Listen, it's not that I don't think that those who are guilty of exploiting children and whatever other foul, despicable shit. It's not that I don't think these people should be brought to justice. It's not that I don't believe in justice. It's just that I don't think justice will be served. I haven't read them. I don't care that much. Yes, those who are guilty should be prosecuted. However, I don't have no power over that. So I just choose to put my attention where it's most needed, where it most matters. It's no point in me putting my attention there. Because now that it's happened, now what? Now that the files are out, now what? Now that we know that possibly the president is affiliated, now what? Now what you gonna do about it? Is what I ask myself and what I'm asking you. Now that the files are out, at least some portion of it, or maybe all of it, I don't know or care. Now that it's out, what you gonna do about it? What you gonna do? It's out now. What you gonna do now? What are you gonna do? You gonna complain some more? More? I mean, do your thing, but what are you going to, what are you going to do? Complain or do something? And if you're going to do something, what? That's for you to decide. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean when I say I ain't worried about no goddamn files. It's not, I can't control any of that. You understand? The steak just ain't worth the sizzle. The orange just ain't worth the squeeze. Dig me? But anyway, thank y'all for watching. I want to thank y'all for pulling up once again. Thank you for watching. Thank you for my new subscribers, so on and so forth. Till next season, I want to thank you once again for watching. I'm the God Rashidi. This is Hoodies. Peace. Hey. This is Hoodies.